Hey, thanks for joining us this week, looking at our other favorite football leagues. We start our show in Spain, where on Wednesday night, Chelsea really schooled Real Madrid 2-0, a 3-1 win for Chelsea. In the end, Zinedine Zidane called on Sergio Ramos, fit again, to lead the side. But it didn't quite work out. Chelsea bossed the game. And Bob Holmes, looking at Real Madrid here, I mean, it's quite obvious Zidane needs to rebuild this side in the summer, regardless of what happens in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chelsea looked 10 years younger than Real Madrid. And that's with having the oldest player on the pitch, Thiago Silva, who's 37. But I think he's a very young-looking 37 and a young playing 37. I think age really caught up with Real Madrid. This side was at its peak 3 or 4 years ago. And it's essentially the same team, minus Gareth Bale, isn't it? They could have done with him, I think, even in his Spurs form. No, they were lacking spark. And I think there were warning signs in the quarterfinal against Liverpool. Liverpool had those chances to nick it in the return leg. And the most obvious one was Mo Salah, I think, in the second minute. And it could have been a very different game. And the fact that Liverpool did create so many openings, which they didn't take, suggested that there were weaknesses with Real Madrid. Real Madrid had played pretty well in the first leg. They bossed that game and they looked a bit more like their old selves. But in the second game of Liverpool and in the 2 games against Chelsea, they very much passed their peak. And where do you start? I mean, they do have 1 or 2 youngsters, but not as many as Barcelona. And one of the reasons that they went and were prepared to ditch their 13 trophies and the greatest club competition in the world, ditch it into the dustbin of history, was because they needed the money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable to think that Real Madrid were one of the ringleaders of that. It would have been the Super League, the demise of the Champions League. And it comes down to money. And have we ever said that before? Real Madrid have always found a way to get money. So they're looking at a big problem here. They have to rebuild a side and they don't have the cash.
Well, this is it. This is a problem. Two seasons ago, Florentino Perez apparently denied Cristiano Ronaldo a £10 million pay rise. Instead, he paid $143 million for one Eden Hazard. And that hasn't worked out very well at all for Madrid. I mean, we've spoken about the rebuild here, Craig. What kind of players do you see? I mean, you look at Ramos, you look at Modric, they're 35. Benzema's 33. They're going to need players. They're going to need a whole spine of players.
Yeah, they will. But I mean, how many can they afford?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the big question, really. You read the reports and you see the kind of debt that Real Madrid are in, the kind of debt that Barcelona are in. You're just amazed at how they're still linked with the likes of Mbappe and players of that kind of quality who are clearly well out of their price range. What they have done over the last few years, though, I will say, is that they've started to build for the future. So they have great connections in South America. They've signed a bunch of South American kids that have quality. You look at some of the players that they have out on loan. Odegaard, Ceballos come to mind. They're still young. They'll go back to Real Madrid. Bale, technically still a Real Madrid player, so he'll go back. Obviously, I don't think he'll be playing much, but they do have players, ready to step in and step up. The one position which I would agree with you on is that Benzema position, the striker, because I mean he's still doing the business for them, and I just don't see anyone that can fill his boots. When he's going to decline over the next couple of years. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be that man? We know they've had talks with Haaland. As I said, that package is, for me, from the reports that I read. I think it's well out of their reach, but they need a striker. There's no two ways about it. And it'll be interesting to see. Speaking of the striker thing, we've seen Sergio Aguero being linked to Barcelona this week. If Real Madrid come in for him, that it doesn't really solve it, but you're getting another striker there. But what a signing that would be on a free, So
they might have to go that route. Absolutely. Des Corkill, who knew that spending money like water would eventually catch up with you? Who knew that? Hey, this weekend, Real take on Sevilla. I mean, now they got to perform for that one, haven't they?
They do. It's you who tell me off for talking about money, and immediately the boys have got to talk about money because it is all so pervasive. And yet, on the field of play this weekend, you've got Real Madrid versus Sevilla, who blew a chance losing to Bilbao earlier on in the week to get really right in amongst the debt-ridden group at the top of the table. And you've also got the little matter of Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid. You have got two humdinging games of football, and we're talking about rebuilding for next year and finances. I do wish we could talk about the football itself more often. How ironic for me to say that to you. So Real Madrid versus Sevilla. Madrid need to bounce back. Despite their age, they're a very, very good bunch of players. I thought that Chelsea didn't outplay them. Mendy's saves from who's the centre forward? Mendy's saves were critical in this. Benzema, brain freeze. So Madrid have proved themselves to be a decent side. Going out in the semi-final of a Champions League isn't a disgrace, despite what their newspapers are saying, and despite the stick they're giving Eden Hazard and 0 points in the Chelsea game for laughing and smiling with players. How dare you laugh? How dare you smile? How dare you enjoy yourself? Gosh. So Real, I think, are capable of bouncing back against Sevilla, who's missed their chance. But the one I'm really itching to see, and I will try and watch this if we can get it on a feed anywhere. Barcelona versus Atletico should be fun.
Yeah.
I imagine some kicked legs in that game.
All you need to do is install Astro, Des. Astro. That's all. Barcelona.
And I hope you're paying for that feed.
Barcelona at third, Atletico 1 is the tie of the weekend in Spain. Closest La Liga title race in years. Barca win, Bob. They go top. Well, Real will have something to say when they take on Sevilla. But Koeman's side are actually probably playing the best football out of the top three.
Well, they usually do, don't they? Barcelona, I think, over the last, 15 years, Barcelona have been playing the best football in Spain, regardless of their position in the league. I think we thought it was all over, didn't we, at the start of the season when they sort of imploded and they were literally forcing players out of the club and off the wage bill. Luis Suarez being the most notable. And I think that had they hung on to him, I think the title would have been a done deal by now. I think that was a mistake, no matter how much he cost. But they panicked because the directors were afraid that they were going to be personally bankrupted if they didn't pay certain bills. Here we are back on money again. But it's inescapable in La Liga because it's going to dictate what's happening. I mean, Atletico Madrid, they just rebuilt. They built the new stadium, and they haven't paid for it. At least they've had their money's worth out of it for a couple of seasons. Unlike Spurs, who only had, I think, about half a season from theirs, and they've got to pay for that. So money does dictate, but it always has in Spain because Barcelona and Real Madrid have always been backed by big money. Barcelona by the Catalans because they sensed that Real Madrid were getting the money from the Spanish government, and which was true. So the Catalan government decided to back Barcelona. So they're both at it. So that's why it's such a big deal. They're both refurbishing their stadiums, which is costing a fortune because the capacity is 90,000. So And then along comes COVID. I mean, that's what's done it. They could have possibly struggled by, but for this disease, if they were getting 90,000 people every week, they, yes, they could have scraped by. But COVID has done this. But what it has done, it's coincided with an evening up in Spain, and that's why we've got a cracking title race.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. This week, Lionel Messi's done all the heavy lifting for Barca on the football pitch. 28 goals this season. Surprise, surprise. Griezmann has chipped in with 12. It is 10:15 p.m. kickoff. Here are all your other ties in Spain. Sociedad against Huesca, Villarreal against Celta Vigo, and of course, Real Madrid against Sevilla. On to Italy we go, where last weekend Inter Milan were crowned champions of Serie A. First title in 11 years. This happened after Sassuolo drew with Atalanta 1-1. Inter at the moment 13 points clear. Worthy champions for you, Des Colgill?
Absolutely. I think Atalanta have outscored them, but most goals conceded. Strong defensively. Lukaku, who's a beast of a player up front, scoring goals. Nice and creative, great work ethic. Inter throughout this season have been excellent. At any league, if you go through a season with just 2 defeats, it's a remarkable achievement. Conte, love him or hate him, I love his boundless enthusiasm. I love the headlines he creates when he inevitably gets in arguments with his board of directors. But his players seem to respond to him, and that passion comes through. So for Inter Milan, first title in 10, 11 years or so, and thoroughly deserved, and playing it the right way, and the rejuvenation of some players who might be deemed past it. Likes of Ashley Young, even Lukaku was seemingly a step down to go to Inter Milan. And what they've done is they've re-energized themselves at the top of a good league. It's the battle below them, which is fascinating, because it's four Champions League places, of which one has gone, and a big club is going to miss out. You suspect in that Champions League, but yeah, great job, Inter. Well done, and well done, Conte.
Yeah, large crowd celebrating the title win at the iconic Duomo in Milan. Ironically, day after that, Vice President Javier Zanetti came out and said Inter have serious financial problems. Yeah, we don't even know if we can afford to keep Conte for the next season. So, yeah, watch that one. This weekend, Inter take on Sampdoria. But Inter's win celebrated in Italy for all of 3 days before a Portuguese guy came in and took over the news. As you would expect, Craig Marias, Jose Mourinho announced as manager next season for Roma. That knocked the stuffing out of Inter's title win. But right job. We all know how it's going to play out, right?
Never far away from the limelight, is he, Jose? Just before Roma faced United as well, which was a little bit of I don't know if it was a boost for United or Roma, to be honest with you. But I mean, this is what I said about Jose, right? I mean, he's done it at, he's gone to the top clubs in Spain. He's had Real Madrid. He's come to England. He's had United. He's had Spurs. He's had Chelsea. But over the last few years, he's kind of been outshone. He's kind of been found out a bit. His training methods, his ideology of football, it's not progressed from it was when he was first Chelsea manager. And I think the only way he can get jobs now would be at clubs like Roma. It's a step down from the elite. Is he an elite manager these days? I don't think so. And I think his track record in recent years proves that. He's far away from the likes of Guardiola, who's his main rival It's, the Pep and Jose battle, he's miles away from that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good appointment for Roma, for where they need to be. They haven't done too well this season. Someone like Jose, if you read the statement, they've come out with a 3-year contract for him. They're going to give him that amount of time, supposedly, and let him build. I think Italy's a perfect destination for him, the Serie A. I think anything can happen there. There's not Juventus dominating it anymore. Yeah, as we've seen with Inter and their success. So it's a good move for Jose. I think it's a good fit. But like you said, Ross, it's only a matter of time before things go pear-shaped when Jose's involved. So let's see how long this one lasts.
We're secretly starting a book on first player thrown under the bus when the season starts.
Chris Smalling, done. Mkhitaryan, done.
Mkhitaryan, I'm going Smalling as well. All right, here's your look at the Serie A top 6. As Des mentioned, the thrill is the race for the European spots. Atalanta and Juventus are both on 60. In fact, Milan, all three on 69 points, trailing 2 points behind Napoli. So this weekend, Napoli are away at 15th place Spezia. Inter take on Sampdoria, who are 9th. Fiorentina, who are 14th, take on 6th place Lazio. Potential banana skin, that one. Parma, already relegated, take on Atalanta. So you expect 3 points for Atalanta there. And the game of the weekend, Juve against Milan. Bob Holmes, say a few words about this great tie. In days of yore, it would have been, Del Piero against Maldini.
Yeah,
right?
It used to be called the Italian derby, didn't it, this game?
Derby d'Italia.
Yeah, that's that tells you
the
historic importance. Yeah, well, it shows. But both have slipped a bit. I think just lately, Milan more than Juve, who just seem to be clinging on. They could still come second. They're level with Atalanta. So anybody's game, this really, but a lot at stake, because it's not really second that they're after, is it? It's ensuring that they're in the top 4. That's what it's all about, because they've got besides Atalanta in second, they've got Napoli breathing down their necks, and then behind them Lazio, who've got a game in hand. So it's very much all to play for there. I'd just like to say one interesting thing about this, what's going to happen in Italy for the future. Spurs, who are, as we all know, are without a manager, have been looking at Antonio Conte and Gasperini. And if Inter haven't got enough money for Conte, don't rule out a return to London for Antonio Conte. And that, I think that would be something. But I think fireworks would happen. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fly on the wall job, that, isn't it?
Amazon, get on your game, please.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you really hope that happens, don't you? Regardless of anything with Spurs or Inter, you just hope that happens. And Gasperini, but Gasperini, I think, unlikely to go at his age, and he's done such a fantastic job at Atalanta. I think he's happy there. He wants to carry on. He's playing a great brand of football, and I don't think he wants Daniel Levy telling him what to do at his age. So more likely, perhaps Conte, because of the money situation. I think even in their dire straits that Spurs are in, they've got more money than Inter. And Conte's been in London. He's done it. He seems to like the Premier League. He buys a lot of Premier League rejects, and he definitely rates the league, and he's managed to win the title with a lot of them. So don't rule that out. That really would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I'd say this is a 50-50 game, but I think Juve probably slight favourites for on recent form, because Milan seem to be slipping.
There you go. Another quick look at your weekend's top 6 in Serie A and who they will be playing and what time the kickoffs will be. Looking at how things are in the Bundesliga then, Bayern Munich not mathematically champions quite yet. So we go into this weekend's matches and we look further down the table where the standout tie is Dortmund against Leipzig. It's 5th against 2nd. Edin Terzic's side actually playing themselves into form recently. Dortmund. This will be a good game against Leipzig. We expect. I know how you feel about Leipzig, Des Corkill, but do you think it'll be a good football match, this?
I think it will be a good football match because Leipzig tried to get the ball down and play. Dortmund, as you quite rightly say, have got themselves back into this race. At one stage, it looked like they were dropping out of it, and when I was questioning those young players, is it good enough? But they've had victories over Wolfsburg and Union Berlin and Werder Bremen 3 in a row following the Man City defeat. They're also through to the final of the German Cup after dispensing of Holstein Kiel. So yeah, they are building themselves into contention. Leipzig, from a Liverpool point of view, I'm looking to see how Konate steps up, because it looks like he's coming to Anfield next year. Leipzig, what is the Leipzig situation? They're pretty close, aren't they? They're well clear. So Leipzig are safe. So this is all on Borussia Dortmund to actually continue their good form and nick that 4th Champions League slot from Eintracht Frankfurt and maybe even overtake Wolfsburg. But Wolfsburg, to me, is the story. We never talk about them. They're a smallish club. They've done things right. They don't overspend. They bring young players forward. They have older players as well. I've liked Wolfsburg. I'd be unhappy if Wolfsburg were to miss out, because to me, they are, even in Germany, the antithesis of money wins all. Dortmund is a money model. Wolfsburg is more a live within our means model.
Yeah, an entire town of Volkswagens, every conceivable model. You got the taxis or the Jettas, you got the Golfs for the women and the Polos. Amazing.
Very sexist, Ross. Very
no,
sexist.
I love a VW. I have a VW. Wait a second. Bayern take on Mönchengladbach at the weekend. Frankfurt against Mainz. I mean, it's done. The Bundesliga, Craig, isn't it? Dortmund, they deserve 2nd, but then you look at Leipzig, and this side is completely going to be broken up from manager to defender. All the players, they're not going to be there next season. So how do you motivate? Yeah, how do you motivate yourself against Dortmund this weekend?
Against Dortmund?
Sorry,
Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, no, Leipzig, Dortmund. I'm talking about Leipzig.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Bayern. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit tough, you know. But you know, they've been so impressive this season. You know, I think the situation with Nagelsmann, he was always going to go, in my opinion. It was just a matter of time. I think, you know, when you have achieved what you have in that managerial. In his managerial career, you know, it's such a short space of time. But what he's done is he's built up an impressive, resume, which is hard to ignore for the top teams and even the very best in Bayern Munich. I think Leipzig knew this was eventually going to happen. Whether they knew it was going to happen this soon remains to be seen, because if you go back 2-3 months ago when there was a bit of talk about it, I think it was Nagelsmann himself that came out and said, hey, you know, hold on a minute, you know, I'm staying with Leipzig. But you got to say he never forced a move, which you got to respect. You know, he stuck to his word. You know, I'm staying here. I think it was Leipzig who couldn't ignore the 20 or 30 million that Bayern Munich were willing to pay for him. That must be some kind of record, by the way, right? I mean, for transfer
fee for a manager. Yeah,
20, 30. I mean, 30 million. I mean,
yeah.
It's a lot of money for a manager, and the faith they must have in him.
But to be fair, that's only Neymar's shoelace.
I mean, I just try to crack my head and think of recent transfers for 30 million footballers, but nothing comes to mind, surprisingly. But yeah, I mean, it's quite remarkable. How do you stay motivated? I think second place is sewn up for them. The Leipzig are always going to be that team which have players that will leave. They produce good players and sell them on. That's their model. I don't think it'll affect them too much because they've been used to this. You've seen big players leave Leipzig over the years, and this is nothing new to them. It's not going to, affect team morale or anything like that, with the players. So, I think, you spoke about Dortmund. I think, the return of Sancho is so important to them. And a nice timely boost ahead of the running, and I don't know who's going to miss out, but I expect Dortmund to clinch one of those places. I didn't think so a few weeks ago, but I think they're well on course now.
Yeah. All right. Here are your fixtures for the weekend. Dortmund 5th against Leipzig 2nd. Wolfsburg against Union Berlin. Werder Bremen against Bayer Leverkusen. Bayern Munich against Borussia Mönchengladbach, and you've got Frankfurt against Mainz. A quick look at the Malaysian Super League. We're just over the halfway stage. We also had a midweek round of matches. Here are the results. JDT beating Kedah 1-0 away from home. So they've opened up back a lead at the top of the table. KL City going well. 3-1 win against Inform Penang. Des Corkill, I come to you as we look at all the results. Standout match for you? Sabah are going well as well. Scott Olerenshaw has been tweeting very happy tweets recently. Nice to see.
Amri Yaya's got himself a lot of recognition because Amri's back scoring goals. And so a Malaysian legend, what is he, 37, 38 now? He's been scoring some great goals, a couple of beauties as well. One a little bit fluky volley, but the near post header is good, and he scored a beauty last week as well. Tell you what, this isn't a bad league. JDT won courtesy a late penalty. It was definitely a penalty at Kedah to establish that 3-point lead. Terengganu, despite the odd little hiccup, are still in there. I saw KL City beat Penang in a really good game of football and a wonderful hat-trick from Paulo Josue, but Penang were dangerous right the way through to the end. Even down at the bottom, Pahang, or Sri Pahang as I should call them, are in the relegation zones, but they've made a sign. They've got a young Argentine who's come on board who looks a little bit tasty, 22 years of age, played in the Argentine league. He went to Europe and now he's over here. So the mid-season transfer window is open. And so I think you might see 1 or 2 signings coming in. But the news is that Perak are in big financial problems, and their team could be in the midst of a breakup mid-season. And that could see them tumbling down and joining UITM, who've only got 1 point all season in the relegation zone at the end of the season. So there's a lot to talk about, and this isn't a Johor runaway. It's a good league.
Yeah. Here's a look at the MSL table after 12 rounds then. 3-point lead for JDT over Terengganu at the top. You got Kedah in the running, Penang just a further point behind. So top 4 within touching distance of each other, which is very nice to see. Looking at the weekend's fixtures, then round 13, which one stands out for you, Craig? Selangor Terengganu jumps out at me immediately.
Yeah, and that is the one for me too. It was quite remarkable, the Selangor versus PJ City result.
You've got to see it.
It was just remarkable. They looked dead and buried. What an awful pitch to start off with, to play on. Something really needs to be done about that. because I think that ball goes out of play if it wasn't that muddy before if Adeo picks it up. But I mean, talk about how's your luck, Des? When it goes into,
I think you need to explain what happened, Craig, because it was so.
Yeah, I mean, PJ City. I think it was in the first half. Took the lead. They're leading comfortably 1-0. And in the 90, I think there was about 4 or 5 minutes of injury time to play. If Adeo equalizes with a header, gets him back into it, and then. I think in about 93rd minute, 94th minute, the ball's going out towards the corner flag. If Adeo picks it up, and I maintain that it could have possibly been going out of play if it wasn't for the atrocious pitch, which if you see when the ball tried to bounce, it just died. So you don't even need a first touch really to play on that pitch. But he just whips it into an area. But as he whipped it in, it's taken a massive deflection off the defender, and like I said, it's so cruel. Football can be cruel sometimes, and it just flies into the top corner. The keeper could do nothing about it, and Slango run away with 3 points. I mean, it's you got to watch it. And if I was PJ City, I'd be absolutely Pimanium. I'd be torn up about that. But Slango Trigano, it's the good one. It's a fixture for me. I still haven't seen Slango really kick on, and they've got their injury problems. Now we know Shahrul Fikri out for the season with a fractured leg. That's a massive blow to them. He was their big local signing this season from Perak. So he's going to be a massive miss. Add to that Safwan, who's injured as well. Yeah. You've got the German defender Tim, who's also injured. A lot of injury problems. Halim Shari, he's out for the season with an ACL. It's piling on for Slango, and this is a season where we really expected them to get closer to JDT with the squad that they have. It'll be interesting to see, like Des said, the transfer window's open. Do Slango go out and reinforce? We know Perak are going to lose some players. Shahrul Sahad, rumoured to be joining Pahang. Pahang are making big moves themselves. Surprisingly, resting a few players. I don't know what we call it these days, but I think a few of their players are available. Gardening leave, resting, but apparently a few of their players could be up for loan. They're foreign imports, by the way, so that could be very interesting for the market. So we'll see. We'll wait and see. But Perak, I think, are gone.
All right. A couple of big games on Saturday there. Sabah against Kedah. 2 informed teams. And, of course, Penang against JDT. Will the champions slip up again? We actually need them to keep this league going. So there you go. That's Malaysian football. We're done. Hope you've enjoyed.
Sorry, Ross. Can I just add, quickly, if you have a chance, do go and watch the KL City highlights against Penang and watch Paulo Jesus' free kick. Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, it's world class. It's world class free kick. And just flies in the top corner. Do go watch the highlights and watch that goal.
Brilliant stuff. There you go. That's what you need to do. I know Bob is just gagging to do it straight away. I'm going to say thanks to the guys. Thanks to Bob. Thanks to Des. Thanks to Craig. I hope you've enjoyed watching. We'll see you next week. Bye now.